Helldivers 2 is one of the best co-op experiences I've played in years, and seemingly it's come out of nowhere for a lot of people. Arrowhead Studios has found this perfect blend of fast-paced action combat, these movie-like last stand moments, and enough explosions to level a small city.
Alright, no it. It'll kill shit. Not effective enough against these guys.
I think the thing I love the most about this game is that it knows exactly what experience it's trying to deliver. And man, they are delivering on it. It's not without its flaws, but allow me to explain why you should be playing Helldivers 2. The game leans heavily on its inspirations, often compared to a Starship Troopers game, and it's hard not to see why. The first thing you see when you load up the game is a war propaganda video, which then extends into the tutorial that has some hilarious lines such as,
"It's just you, the gun in your hands, and 2,000 megatons of explosives in close orbit. That's it. Is the Terminid, the scourge of liberty. Arm yourself and show that bug the true meaning of freedom."
And these are littered throughout the game, even in the tooltips when loading into a mission. For budgetary reasons, Hellbombs require manual arming, but don't stick around unless you want to get a spot. Looking for a spot on the Wall of Martyrs. If an enemy attempts to engage in diplomacy, shoot them. We mustn't believe their lies. The constant push of liberty, democracy, and justice is hilarious. You aren't this special person, you are just part of the war effort. Even naming your ship has some funny combinations that lead on irony. For example, my ship is called the Courier of Peace. They are only one Starship Trooper commercial away from being one of my favorite sci-fi game worlds.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part. The best thing that Helldivers 2 succeeds at is its raw gameplay. Once you drop into a mission, you'll be faced with waves of bugs or automatons, robots, whatever you want to call them, and then you need to destroy them in different ways in order to complete the mission. There's a variety of different missions that you'll be doing, so you'll be engaging in combat quite a lot. I will not mince my words here. Combat feels awesome. Each weapon has great visual and audio feedback. Moving around doesn't feel clunky or static. You have this pretty hilarious dive that you can use in order to get out of the way of incoming attacks, and if you use it in the right circumstances, it's actually really helpful. But in the wrong circumstances, you'll end up getting mauled by a bunch of bugs. But on the whole, controlling your character feels nice, as it should be, and I think Arrowhead has really nailed it. Combat is also enhanced by stratagems. These are orbital drops that you can call in with these like GTA codes that you need to input, like down, up, right, left, and essentially these will give you things such as weapons, like support weapons like railguns, grenade launchers, recoilless rockets, resupplies, sentry guns, and lots and lots of explosions. Oh god, here we go. Hell bomb. Yeah! Freedom! Just the raw amount of this. Napalm. High yield explosive. The beauty of stratagems is that each person can cater the way that they play. We had a random player that we ran into when we were doing quick play. They literally used sentry turrets, mines, and had a resupply pack on at all times so they could give us stims and ammo whenever people were running out, and then they would just call in a resupply whenever it was needed. The way that the game balances this is that it is on a cooldown, so when you use specific, like an orbital strike, you're able to wait maybe a minute and a half before you get it back again, so you aren't just spamming these all the time, but then you don't feel like you need to save them for specific points during the level. There is a couple in the later progressions, like a 500 kilogram nuclear warhead, which only has a single use, and I can understand why, because the explosions in this game are pretty incredible. Jesus Christ, this game. Coordinating your stratagems and fitting into a role within your squad is going to be the key element when it comes to that co-op gameplay, and I've been doing that a lot with my friend. But you do need to be careful because when you use your ordnance, friendly fire is always on, so it leads to a lot of hilarity when playing this game. Friendly fire being on is maybe considered a bad thing to most, but in Helldivers it 100% works. I think I've killed my friend more than enough times, variety of different ways in missions by pure accident and panic by just throwing something out because things are chasing me, and then sometimes on purpose. Oh shit! I don't know why, but it just adds this fun factor, knowing that your death can come in any form, regardless if it's from friend or foe.
Green move now. God damn it. Drop it close to
A lot of the times, it's just because people don't judge exactly where they're throwing out their cluster bombs from an airstrike. I do also want to point out that this game is 100% better with a group of friends or some randoms that you can find online. Whilst the solo experience is pretty fun on lower difficulties, it is way more enjoyable in a group, so solo players might not have as much fun here, but I still have fun on maybe like the easy to medium difficulties, because as the challenge goes up, you are going to need to make sure that you're in a squad. There is this movie moment like quality to combat at times. You're fending off waves of bugs and then an airstrike will come in and save you from some heavy enemies, or you'll be diving out the way of specific enemy fire, or you're literally diving away from explosions because you're going to die, or you get to the point where you've started a mission and everything's going fine, you've been way too casual, and then suddenly you have one respawn left and there's 70 plus enemies charging you down, and there's not much that you can do. I do enjoy the fact that there's this level of panic that can happen and you're never really safe. Most missions start off like that Rick and Morty skit where you're in and out in 10 minutes and then you end up 40 minutes later battered, broken, and wanting the mission to end. These moments happen all the time. There's also other moments that are hilarious that happen all the time during playing, and I can't describe how many times I have laughed out loud playing this game because it's just simply fun. It's also enhanced by the fact that the missions can take anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes, which is incredibly dangerous because that term, one more mission, turns into 4 hours of more missions and a late YouTube upload, which totally didn't happen to me last Friday. It's not like the game is short on missions either. They can range from killing up enemy nests or outposts to launching an actual nuclear warhead that blows up in-game. Holy God. Nice. And from my specific count, there are like 10 different types of missions with optional objectives found around the map. These optional objectives and like points of interest will give you things such as like a radar station that gives you little pings on the map. There's also an artillery cannon. If you load it up, you can use it for the rest of the mission. There's like 5 shells that you can use. You can get a mini nuke on there sometimes. And then all of this gives you additional XP and direct points. And if you go and find these points of interest as well, you'll be able to find medals and premium currency within the game. It's not a lot, but it's worth going and searching for. I thought I would get bored after a certain number of missions, but they just don't, purely because of the way the game approaches its difficulty. On the lower to medium difficulties, you can be pretty safe with what you're doing. Enemies won't really challenge you that much. You can get overwhelmed. But then you go into the challenging and higher difficulties, and then heavies start to show up, spewers start to show up, and then invisible enemies called stalkers, which are particularly scary when you're being hunted for the entirety of the mission. So that's always fun. But each enemy that you do come up against has a specific way that you can defeat them and make it like a coordination between your team. The heavies have this soft spot on their back that you can shoot. The spewers remind me of the termites from the movie Ants, and they have this big like sack on their back that's full of acid that can kill you rather quickly. And my friend had a vendetta against these, and every time they would spawn in, grenade launchers, orbital strikes, airstrikes would be used to take them out with maximum force. And it's not even the fact that there's these different enemy types in the game. The frequency of which they come after you on the higher difficulties is what makes the panic increase, because you are the grunts, you are the cannon fodder, so you're not supposed to be these super soldiers. And that constant pressure, variety of enemies, different stratagems, squad play wrapped up in fast missions makes for an overall fantastic package, and it leans into that you're in a war against a horde like species and you're not going to survive, so try your best. Progression may seem slow at first, but once you find a rhythm and take on higher difficulties, it starts to make a little bit more sense. The core things that you'll be earning in the game are requisition points and XP. XP obviously gives you more levels, which unlocks more stratagems, and then you actually have to purchase the stratagems with these rec points that you get from doing objectives within the mission. So the loop is rather simple to get to grips with, and you'll also find samples out in the missions which are like rare or common, and these are used to upgrade ship modules in the ship to give you more buffs to your stratagems while they're out in the field, so it's super easy to get to grips with. The main controversy I've seen online is the game is pay to win. So allow me to shed a little bit of light on this, because during the game you will earn medals for your playtime doing different objectives and operations. These will unlock war bonds, and this is like the game's live service element in like a pass that you can get premium currency from for free if you complete that pass, to then unlock the premium war bond, and if you want to buy that straight out, but you have to go into the game and earn the medals in order to unlock things on any of the war bonds. So even if you buy the premium track, you still need to go and earn like 25 to 30 medals to unlock the special variant weapons that are on there. It's not just you pay to progress, that type of deal. It's nothing to do with that at all. And another thing I've also seen is to do with the cash item shop, which has a few different sets that rotate in terms of armor and also helmets. These sets have armor passives like all of the other armor sets within the game, and a lot of them are also cosmetic as well. These passives look good on paper, but these passives are also on the gear that you have in the game, the same exact passives that you can earn by playing for 100% completely free. So if that's what you think pay to win is, then it's down to you to decide. I just wanted to show exactly what it is, rather than some overblown article that you might read online. This kind of completely slipped my mind when I was making this review, which was visually, the game actually looks fantastic. There's a variety of different colors and distinct biomes that you'll be going. There's like a snow, a sand, a salt planet as well. Enemies look and sound distinctly different, so you know what the scary ones are. Weapons have great audio feedback, and even down to the little things like your character getting covered in snow or dirt buildup on their armor, or even getting the blood and guts from the enemies all over you, which tears up your cape that you're running around with. And it's just these little touches here and there that make the difference. We have now reached the part of the video where I need to be a little bit critical of Helldivers 2, and that is in terms of its PC performance, because that's the only thing I can really comment on. And the first of these problems is bugs and crashes. In the 12 hours of playing the game so far, I've had about 4 or 5 crashes where the game just stops. It doesn't necessarily freeze, it just closes on its own, and it's not during gameplay or in missions itself. It's only when I'm in the startup menus or when I'm in the ship section getting ready to go on to another mission. And I hope the developers will fix this. They've already put out 3 patches in the last couple of days to try and fix these stability issues, and I haven't really run into many of them in the last day or so, so maybe they've fixed these. There's also a lot of visual bugs that can happen within the ship itself, like your teammates' arms and legs are floating around, which can kind of be a bit of a funny thing to look at first, but it shouldn't really be happening, and I do need to point this out. And also my friend had a few times where their map in-game didn't actually load, so they were kind of running towards like empty sections, and I don't think that is something that you want to be having in your game either. Whilst I haven't run into many of these issues, other players have, and I definitely know from reading about it that these are going to be some core issues that the team over at Arrowhead needs to fix. When it comes to the actual gameplay and in the missions, the game runs pretty stable. I've had maybe 1 or 2 frame drops, and I'm running at really high settings on my PC. So yeah, I think this is going to be something that will probably fix over time. Another issue I need to be making aware to PC players is that there is a kernel level anti-cheat in the game, which, although I'm not a fan of, will be a turn off for many players. I've not had any issues with it, but if you plan on uninstalling the game at some point, you need to make sure that you uninstall everything that is attached with it, because that's what a kernel level anti-cheat does. Helldivers 2 is also a live service game, so it suffers from the always online syndrome that many newer games have. Whilst it plays into these live service elements with a really cool galactic map feature that gives you live updates of how much progress the entire community has put towards a planet to liberate it, the downside to that is the servers and online matchmaking can be a problem, which they have had over the last couple of days, especially with the influx of players that are going and jumping into the game, and there's been a lot of disconnects for some people. I haven't necessarily had any issues when I actually get into a lobby and there's a group of us playing, but the initial setup is a problem. Arrowhead CEO did take to Twitter on the weekend and basically said that they're trying to ramp up these server issues, and it's going to be hard for them to do because obviously there's so many people trying to play the game, so they're going to be trying to minimize the impact on players while also allowing more people to get in, because right now Helldivers 2 is actually breaking records in terms of player count on PC for a Sony title. So maybe this will lead to more Sony titles coming to PC a little bit earlier in the future. To give you my final verdict on the game, I can recommend Helldivers 2. I stand by what I said at the start of the video. Helldivers 2 is one of the best co-op experiences I've played in recent years. It's got personality, it's incredibly fun, and all for a great price, being below premium, being like $35, $45 in US and in pounds, and it's a wonderful value. I would say it's a must play for some people, but with the performance issues, being always online, having some server issues as well, it's hampered the experience. And being better in a group than solo, it's not going to be for everyone. But for me, go and check out this game. It's breaking records for Sony right now on PC, and the popularity of it is growing. I'm going to be playing a hell of a lot more of it over the next couple of weeks, because it's going to be that fun little game I can jump into, and they have a lot more content planned down the road. So what do you think of Helldivers 2? Have you played it? Are you going to be jumping in after this review? Let me know down in the comments section. And as always, leave a like on the video and subscribe if this video has been informative. And as always, this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.